Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks, we got trouble down there in Paradise. Florida Gators, they're having some issues. Steve Spurrier has come out, and he wants to know what the heck is going on down there. And Trevor Etienne, who is now at Georgia, he pretty much just said they're a losing program. So this has not been a good couple of days for the Florida Gators, which, look, as you know, the Gators are my nemesis. They are my Newman.
Hello, Newman.
Hello, Jerry.
Absolutely. But we're going to talk about this. It's been a long time since I brought up the Florida Gators. I've been kind of giving a little break because it's been a little tough down there. But look, this isn't me. These are their people. This is their former coach, national champion Steve Spurrier, and their former tremendous running back, Trevor Etienne. And this is on footballscoop.com by Zach Barnett. It says, Steve Spurrier says there's a feeling around the Gators of what the heck are we doing? It says the legendary Florida head coach told a local newspaper he wishes the current head coach was a little more tidy in running the program. In other words, he's not happy. And it's understandable. Florida's had 3 losing seasons in a row, which is shocking. And the last 2 are under Billy Napier. And last year, they lost the last 5 games. Now, granted, they had a very tough schedule, but this year's schedule is not going to get much better. Don't take my word for it. Dalton, tell him.
It'll get worse before it gets better.
Yep. Dalton always knows. You can trust him.
Roadhouse.
And it says, as the only SEC school in the nation's most talent-rich state, which Florida's just loaded. I mean, you should, at the very worst, be 8-4 there, honestly. I mean, they have just 5-star, 4-star everywhere you look down there. And like I said, the SEC carries a lot of weight. It says, for evidence, see how the Gators went 0 national titles to 3 in a 13-season period, 96 to 2008. Says, but because of that potential, when things are going bad at Florida, they tend to go really bad, really fast. Talked about Will Muschamp, took the Gators to the Sugar Bowl in year 2, was gone in year 4. They fired Jim McElwain, who had just won the SEC East twice. And then Dan Mullen won the SEC East, and he got fired. So you can kind of see a trend here. Florida's not going to tolerate that lack of success. I'm really surprised they didn't let him go after the year 2, but I think they just owe him too much money. It's like $32 million. And they want to at least give him year 3. But honestly, at 11-14, 6-10 in SEC play in the last 2 seasons, that's just not Florida Gators football. It's not. And he said, there's a lot of questions that I don't have the answers to about the organization, said Spurrier. Says, just because you hire the most people doesn't mean you're going to win. All these extra people, I question how much that really helps. Gosh, look at that. Is that right? Look at this picture, folks. These are all pretty much employees or, I guess, graduate assistants or something. There's as many coaches and trainers and stuff as there are players. There's the head coach. Here's the players. Look at this. Wow. That's kind of shocking. It says the support staff grew from 45 under Mullen to 62 under Napier. And the Gators spent nearly $1 million more than Georgia on staffing. Wow. It says Florida, for example, has a head coach, obviously, an assistant head coach, and an executive head coach. It talks about how he's had trouble finding or keeping the right people. Only 3 of his 10 on-field assistants have made it to year 3. So they've lost or parted ways with strength coach, his director of recruiting, in-house NIL director. And the coach said, I like the guy. He's a good guy, works his tail off, good family man, but we do wish the organization was a little bit more tidy. Now, a big part of this is losing. You know, when you're losing, that's when everybody starts complaining and talking out of school. And Spurrier, look, that's just what he does. He talks, he says things, and he used to get the Tennessee Vols going all the time.
How dare you?
So this is actually tame for him, but when you start criticizing the coach that's up there, that's tough because, Spurrier carries a lot of weight down in Florida, and everybody's going to pick up on this, which they have done. And one of the big problems Billy's had, too, is his special teams were so bad last year. He's out there with players with the same number. He'd have 13 players out there instead of 11. They would get some crazy penalty and then have to re-kick. And they probably lost 2 games last year because of special teams. The Utah game was definitely a possibility. They could have won that game. And then also the Arkansas game. Both of those games, special teams really kind of turned the corner on that, both those games. And that has a lot to do with coaching. But now he's got a former player that transferred out that was a very good player. As a matter of fact, he probably would start on any SEC club, including the Georgia Bulldogs, who definitely wanted him, and now he's there, and I don't know how thrilled I am about that, because either place we got to face him, whether he's at Florida or Georgia, and he's a terrific running back, and he will run you over. It says Trevor Etienne on transfer said RB2 on a losing team or go somewhere and possibly be RB1 and win a natty. That's not going to sit well. And part of it is they've got a guy by the name of Montrell Johnson. He's a very good running back too. This is really a 1-2 punch. Both of these guys are excellent. They're both starting running back type of talents. Etienne ran for more than 1,400 yards while he was in Gainesville. I think he was a very high 4-star, as I recall. And Etienne said, for me, it was like, does the good outweigh the bad? I've been with Florida for 2 years. I went through that whole process of rebuilding. It's kind of still rebuilding. I felt like there was a lot of uncertainty, so like a lot of questions were unanswered. There's a lot of unknown going on. I felt like I can stay here and do what I've been doing for another year or two, or bet on myself and take a chance. He said, pretty much to sum it up, it was like I can either be running back 2 on a losing team or go somewhere. I wanted to play in December. He said, that also played a big part in me transferring. I said I can stay as running back 2 on a losing team or go somewhere and possibly be running back 1 and win a natty. So losing Trevor Etienne was a real blow. I don't care what team you are. It's tough to lose a workhorse like he was. And he was probably going to have an outstanding year this year. I think he would have been a junior. So that's usually when these running backs really take off. When they get in that third year, that's kind of their money year. Go out there and show what you can do. Kind of the way Jalen Wright did for UT. And by the way, he just ran a 4.38 40, and that he's a beast. He averaged over 7 yards a carry last year. He was fantastic for us Vols. We're going to miss him. But at least he's going to the NFL. He's not transferring to Georgia. Jeez. And I remember when this happened, the Florida Gators were not happy. The Florida fan base, they were like, look, the only thing worse than going to Georgia would be going to Florida State. But Georgia's the second worst place he could have gone for them because they got to play them every year. They have that big match, and I believe in Jacksonville. So this is a tough loss for them, and especially them talking about him, it makes it that much worse. And if you've not seen what Billy Napier's facing this year, if you've not seen their schedule, I'll show it to you. All right, you can see right here, they start out with the Miami Hurricanes. Then they've got one easy game, that's the Sanford Bulldogs. Then they've got to play Texas A&M. Then they go to Mississippi State. Then they got to play UCF. And anybody thinks that's going to be an easy win is crazy. Gus Malzahn's there, and this is going to be little brother versus big brother. This is in-state, just like the Miami game is. And that brings up the level of intensity for both teams big time.
You walk over, but you're limping back.
So they've already got 2 in-state games with Miami and UCF. So, again, don't think that UCF's going to be some walk in the park. Then they've got to go to Neyland. That'll be a heck of a test. Then they got the Kentucky Wildcats, and they've had trouble with Kentucky the last several years. Kentucky's kind of had their number, which is odd. Then it really gets fun for them. Number 1, Georgia. Number 4, Texas. Number 12, LSU. Number 6, Ole Miss. Number 15, Florida State, another in-state matchup. Those 5 games right there, get you a good dose of those.
Oh, no, no.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't get any rougher than that. Now, here's the thing. He's probably going to have to win 8 games to keep his job. This is his 3rd year. I believe he's got a 6-year contract, so the buyout, I think, would still be over $20 million. So don't feel sorry for this guy. He is going to be mega rich the rest of his life. He will have more money than he ever knows how to spend.
Woo! 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 Ow! Love that money.
So will his family. So he's a good dude. I know he's a good family man, but this is probably his last year. I just can't imagine him winning 8 games with this schedule, given how they play. You know, their schedule last 2 years was not as tough as this, and I'm not seeing the progress there. Now, that doesn't mean that we're guaranteed a win against them because for whatever reason, we struggle against Florida. We just always have, that I can remember ever since the 90s. They've been a pain and a thorn in my side, but I believe bringing them up to Neyland this year, and we've got Nico, I feel fantastic about this year. This is one of the better years as far as feeling really good about the Volunteers taking care of Florida. This schedule is rough. and Billy being on the hot seat. And here's the thing about Florida. If they start going down, they'll go down quick. That's the thing. They for whatever reason, when things don't go well down there, it just kind of, they tank. And it's really weird. They either win a ton of games or very few. There's very little in between with them. They don't do a lot of 8 and 9 win seasons, 10, 11, or 4 or 5. So we watching the Gators. I still don't feel sorry for them. I don't know that I ever can, but this is going to be a rough year for them. And you know, it almost feels like the Gators, they're almost into acceptance. I think they're past denial.
And then depression set in.
And sometimes you got to go backwards to go forwards. And if they do have a bad year this year, that just means they're going to get a new coach. And there's a guy down there in Mississippi that'd probably be a good fit for them. If not him, they need to spend some money and go get a tried and true head coach and stay out of the Sun Belt. You know, no more of this testing the waters in these smaller conferences. You're going to have to spend some money and get a really good coach, and that's just the way it's going to have to be. Otherwise, get used to this crap. So anyway, thought I would cover the Gators. It's been quite a while since I have. And if you've not subscribed, it's right here on your right, my left. Hit this little button. I would appreciate it. And right over here is the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.